Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing? Welcome to the Division 4 commentary for the F1XL race here at COTA. Let's have a wee look at the track map, shall we? COTA, 5.513 kilometers, 3.425 miles with 20 turns, 2 DRS zones, very twisty sections, Sector 1, and then a big long straight and a couple corners for Sector 2. Going into Sector 3, it's a lot of fast corners, which will absolutely be sure to destroy the tyres, which is make it very exciting for everybody watching. Hopefully. Arnie, I should mention as well, thank you very much for the follow-up with XRX and Arnie. And I'm pretty sure my VODs do get saved. I've just not streamed for a long time. I'll double check that on my settings just now. I've not streamed like for a while, so that'll be why you aren't seeing that. Yeah, we're in for a good race today. Championship is very close. If I quickly check my settings. I don't think it's in the settings, it'll be in my creator dashboard. But yeah, we're in for a very good race today. And I'm very excited for it to get underway. We're currently waiting for a few drivers to get in. It's obviously a sprint race, so we've got 10 laps in the sprint, and then 28 laps for the main feature race. Give me just a second. For channel stream. Yeah, so store past broadcast is on. That's good. But yeah, currently we'll go through the standings just now. Rambo Jambo 51 currently in the lead with 95 points, but right behind him is a fast closing in Wadey, who missed the first few rounds, but looks like he's got some speed on it, and you know he's won 2 out of the 5 last races and had a podium at 3 of the 5 last races, so he is doing quite well for himself. Very close behind him on 81 points is Extra Rex, and now he had a podium in 3 out of the 5 last races. He's not won any, but he's had a podium in 3 of them. Top 5 and 4 of the 5 last races as well for Extra Rex, so he is quite a consistent finisher. I should mention Rambo has finished top 5 in the last 5 races, so he is in very good form. Let's hope we can continue that today. I've got Mr. Barnes written down here in my notes because he is quite high up. 5th place currently in the standings, 25 points off of 1st. Should everything go his way today, he could take the championship lead after this race, but that's probably not very likely. I've also got written down here about Mr. Tazo. He's down in 7th and is, you know, a whopping 35 points off the championship lead, but he has had some pretty inconsistent results, but when he's there, he really performs. Getting 1st in 2 out of the 5 last races, that's the sort of the same ratio as Wadey, and you know he's got pace. I've raced him before quite a few times, and he's very, very fast when it comes to that. Looking at quali, Rambo seems to be quite a consistent qualifier, getting pole in 2 of the 5 last races. But after that, it really is just a lot of different drivers getting pole. We've not really seen anyone else get multiple pole positions this season so far, other than DNG Titan, who doesn't look like he's racing anymore. This race should be getting underway, or this qualifying should be getting underway if you're new to F1XL for the sprint race. We do a one-shot qualifying, followed by a sprint race, then followed by a one-shot qualifying and a race. Point structure is all the same. We don't do a sprint race every race. It's only every now and then. We should hopefully get underway very, very soon. We've got 15 of the 22 drivers in here. I'll go through all the drivers that are currently in. and we'll have a look at that. So currently we have F1XL RNA, Mr. Barnes, Bond Bullets, XRX, Greeners, The Krieger, Just Simpa, Drift King, RTS God, F1XL Senna, Elite L-Dog, Sparrow, STR's Total Caesar, Mr. Tazo, and Warder 0, and Tommy Gun 1999, who's also just joined us. Predictions, and I think Tazo's going to have a good race. I think he's going to come back. I think he had a DNF in his last race. Yeah, DNF, and then the race before that was 17th, but before that he got 2 first places in a row. So I think he's going to come back brilliantly this weekend. He's going to do great, and he is going to surprise. But yeah, 16 drivers. We've got 17 currently, 18 currently registered in the Division 4 check-in. So hopefully we should be getting underway shortly. It is 21:04 just now. The race was we were meant to start at 9. Obviously I've not got access to the Division 4 chats, so you know, can't really see what the conversation going on is, but you know, it's all good. Go back to this screen now as we are waiting for, I think the last couple of drivers we're waiting for to get in. Then once they're in, we will be ready to go for one-shot quali. I'm just thinking of who I'm going to ride on board with just now. Probably going to go on with... I'm going with Mr. Barnes for when we get into quali. We'll see how he does. Some fast people in this lobby. I've raced a couple of them, and I ended up being Division 3. Thank you very much for the follow, Dippytron87. Yeah, I was in Division 3, so I raced a couple of these people. I got moved up to Division 1, and absolutely fell off. This track, it's quite a difficult track. Going up towards turn 1, braking up the hill, you can brake very late because it's up that hill, to a very tight hairpin, and then you're going down a hill and it's a very slight right, and then it's a very Maggots and Beckett section as you approach. So you very Maggots and Beckett section, big S, and into a big turn, and then it's very easy to lose your rear tires towards the start of the first sector of the lap, so you don't want to cook your tires too much. Sector 2 has got a lot of straights. Well, it's got mainly one big long straight and a little bit of a twisty turny section in the middle. Sector 3 is mostly just those 3 fast right-handers. You can actually lose a lot of time, even though it's completely flat out. If you do not take the right line, you can lose 0.5 of a second just taking the wrong line. Penultimate corner as well. Expect quite a few invalidated laps and exceeding track limit warnings, because that is a very, very difficult corner to get right. Even for me, I was doing some time trial laps earlier and I was struggling to get the tyres on the track, because it's a blind corner. Just turn in and you hope that you stay on the racing line and you don't bring it too wide. Final corner as well, it's quite a difficult one, but as long as you get the correct braking point and turn it in correctly, hopefully everything is a-okay. Still not readying up here in the race. I'm currently waiting for, I think we're still waiting for a driver. It's 21:07 just now. Who are we waiting on? Arne, Taz, we have Sparrow is in, XRX is in, Rambo Jambo. Is Rambo Jambo in? Doesn't look like he is. So I guess we'll see. Unless Rambo Jambo's like a name that isn't a ZA name for whatever reason. But we shall see, we shall see. Just waiting now. Not much else you can do. Just waiting as we wait for the race to start, as we're getting a lobby update notification. Very interesting. 18 drivers now in the session. We are good to ready up. We have got drivers readying up. This is very exciting. We can finally get this race underway. Or not the race, qualifying underway. Which will, obviously the race will then follow that. So, very exciting. So let's go through all of our drivers now that they're all in. So we have F1XL Arnie for the Red Bull, Mr. Barnes in the Alpine, Bond Bullets in the Williams, X with Scuderia Ferrari, Greeners in the Haas, the Krieger in the Mercedes AMG, Just Sempa in the other Mercedes, Drift King in the Kick, RTS God in the Haas, F1XL Senna in the Williams, Elite L-Dog in the V-Carb, Sparrow in the Aston Martin, Total Caesar in the V-Carb, Mr. Tazo in the Aston, Warder Zero in the Kick, Tommy Gunn in the McLaren, Frank Kentel in the McLaren, Infinite Locate in the Ferrari, and here we go for one-shot qualifying. How exciting. Let's get this music off. Brilliant. Right. Let's load in. We will go on board with Mr. Barnes through qualifying. I did a couple of time trial laps. I looked at a couple of Division 1 drivers' times, and it looks like the fastest setup might be setup 1, the high downforce, which doesn't surprise me at all. It's a very downforce dependent track. So hopefully that should be... I remember Tazo always used to say that he was a downforce merchant, so we'll see whether that's still the case these days. And we will be interested in whether this race goes well for him. Waiting for us to load up here now. As we load into qualifying. Who are we going to spectate? That is the question, and I've already told you we shall spectate Mr. Tazo. Waiting for this to start now, as we have all of the drivers in their garages going to do their one-shot qualifying lap, as we see the Rolex board in the background with the clock of when we start. 13 seconds to go then before we get this one-shot qualifying underway. I'm very excited to see the results of this. Not fully sure on who's currently the fastest. I'm going to assume Rambo Jambo. But here we are. Who's it chosen? RTS God. Right, let's go see if we can get to Mr. Barnes. Here we are. Okay, never mind. We'll stay on Tommy Gunn just now. So Tommy goes down towards turn 1, takes it tight on the apex turn 2. Through this Maggots and Beckett's section, keeps it flat out as it goes through here, drops off, downshifts towards the apex as it goes in. Brings it round in here, very long turn as you immediately turn left. It's very easy to lose the rear there, but he's doing quite a good job there. Between 150 then, braking as hard as you can. Didn't quite get the apex so you can keep it tighter, but it's not going to cost him that much. Up here the run towards, you get DRS as you can go further down. I'm just hoping, wishing you had a bit more pace down this straight, I cannot lie. As you brake just before 100, turn in, try to get a little bit of that curve, but he just misses it. Braking just before here. Again, missing the apex a bit, but that's okay. As he brings it round, keeping it wide round this turn here as he turns in, getting perfect amount of curb and immediately flooring it out of there to try and get a very good result. Through the fast right-hander, you keep it flat the whole way through. And then you brake just at that panel on the right, keep it in track limits, which Tommy manages to do. Braking, turning left, again, keeping it within track limits. Absolutely brilliant lap from him. And we see the qualifying order of Mr. Tazo gets pole position for the sprint race. Absolutely phenomenal work from him. You know, he done absolutely fantastic there. So qualifying results goes as follows. Mr. Tazo gets first position. Just Sempa in P2. Mr. Barnes in the Alpine goes P3 with Elite L-Dog in P4. Greeners in the Haas goes P5 with Sparrow right behind, Mr. Tazo's teammate in P6. F1XL Senna, not a bad result for him in P7 with 28 Frank Entel in 8th. P9 is F1XL Arne. He's done pretty well there, and Infinite Loki goes P10 for the Ferrari. Tommy Gunn, as we were spectating him, he went P11. Oh, I've missed the rest of the results. I went through that too fast. Oopsie daisies. But we had a few disqualifications there, so I'm assuming track limits, as this is a very track limits dependent track. Bond Bullets 12th with the Krieger in 13th, and RTS God in 14th. X-Rex goes 15th with Caesar in 16th, Warder in 17th, and Drift King in dead last for the Saubers. It's a bit like real life this, with this Kick Saubers in 17th and 18th, second last and last. Reminds me very much of real life, but what can you do? So yeah, let's talk about that. Brilliant lap from Tazo to put it on pole. I did mention before that he has previously said that he's a downforce merchant, and I did also predict he'd do pretty well. So you know what, we'll go with it. Sempa as well with a brilliant qualifying result. I don't actually know whether Sempa is another driver. I could be dumb. I probably am dumb. No, Sempa is just, yes, okay. No, I'm dumb. Sempa is Sempa. Mr. Barnes is the Alpine. Good result for him. Oh, as the race is starting, formation lap gets underway as we see Mr. Tazo burning his tyres just a little bit on that race start, and Sempa immediately weaving along with Mr. Barnes right behind him. You see them trying to generate tyre temps. Elite L-Dog in that inside line, trying to just weave because they need these tyre temps. They need them. That is the most important thing with the formation lap. Let's go on board with Mr. Barnes here as we watch what he's doing. He is weaving about, trying to just take this at a nice, slow, steady pace. What I imagine they're all doing, because I'm not seeing them weaving all that much, I assume they're all in sort of AI mode just now. And basically, at least back when I played the game, oh, Mr. Barnes is weaving. Back when I used to play the game, which I don't really anymore, but we'll go with it. During the formation lap, you would put on pause, and that would automatically warm all of your tyres to around sort of 80 degrees. And it meant you didn't have to do much weaving, you didn't have to put much effort in, you could sort of relax before the race. We see Elite L-Dog, he's weaving, so I don't think he's in AI, neither is Greeners, or a lot of these drivers actually. Obviously, as a spectator, I cannot see whether they're in AI or not. So, but a lot of these drivers look like they're weaving, trying to generate those ever so crucial tyre temperatures for the race start. Trying to get those rears lit up a bit. We see as I try to get, I will get their tyres up. Gap, interval, detail, we'll get the tyres up. All on mediums other than Warder, who's decided to go hard. Get telemetry up, lap data, and track map. Okay, here we are then. Approaching the race start. You see Mr. Tazo. Possible race strategy, medium or hard. Let's see what Tazo does here as he burns his rear tyres a bit, bringing it up towards his grid position, and wants to get a really big angle here. Wow, that's a massive angle from Tazo. That is, he's almost pointed 45 degrees to the left there. He really is a bit nervous as Mr. Barnes, unfortunate for him, misses his parking spot, and so does the Krieger. Tazo then, for the launch, can he hold off against Sempa right behind? Let's have a wee look. They've got their revs up, and it's lights out and away we go. Tazo gets a good launch, but Sempa's right next to him. They're wheel to wheel going into turn one. Can Sempa get ahead? He can. Tazo's lost the lead immediately, but we see a lot of chaos. That's a Red Bull spinning in the background. I think that's F1XL Arne that spun. Yes, it is. We've got 3 wide going into here. And oh, this contact further down there. As for the Ferrari there, unfortunate for him, of Extra Rex. Sempa in the lead now by 6/10. Elite L-Dog 2 seconds further back. He's not had a very great start. As we hide these just so we can get a bigger screen. You can see Greener's behind, just edging on that McLaren. He is right on the rear gearbox as he goes a bit wide, but can he get the moves? There's a lot of wheel-to-wheel action behind as we see the other Haas of RTS, God, trying to go wheel-to-wheel. He is wheel-to-wheel with Total Caesar, going towards after the straight. Can he get the move pulled off? He does. He is ahead of the V-Carb, and the McLaren is ahead of the kick. Good for F1XL Arne. Oh, RTS God spins round. That is unfortunate for him. He was doing so well as well. F1XL Arne going for a little bit of a dive bomb here, but doesn't quite do it. It's very close racing for to 4. Very good, very good. It's Tazo just losing DRS to Sempa ahead. Sempa looks like he's fast. He looks like he's very fast. He looks like he's wanting to win this sprint race ahead. Tazo wanting to do a great job in getting closer. As Senna pits, I assume he's got wing damage. F1XL Senna goes towards the pit box. He does have wing damage. He has lost that front wing end plate. Not ideal for him at all. Let's look on this POV of Greeners here as he is 3/10 behind the McLaren ahead, 5/10. Dirty air effect isn't that high in this game, but can he get closer? He can get closer, I know he can. He'll get DRS in this lap as it's opened after lap 1 is complete. Drift King gets 3-second penalty, the first to get a penalty this race. But Greeners is right in the gearbox, that will be a warning, he just went a bit wide. Got his overtake on, he's got DRS. Can he move faster? Can he move that Haas into places it should not be? Into P5? No, he cannot. As we see a move between Tommy Gunn and the Mercedes of the Krieger. Wow. Some pretty good racing from Div 4, I must say. It's very entertaining. We've got RTS God 7 seconds back in the Haas. He is feeling probably a bit upset with his start, and F1XL Sana probably even more annoyed with himself after the damage he got on lap 1. Sempa has managed to bring out a gap of 1.8 seconds to Mr. Tazo. Tazo's fighting his car at the moment, trying to go faster, but Sempa just has the pace. Sempa has got this track, and he knows what he's doing. He can get pole because that's what he is doing. Mr. Barnes getting very close to the back of Elite L-Dog, but not quite able to make the move. What a shame for him. As we see, Sparrow, 4/10 off, some very close racing here, but no moves being made at the moment. You see Greeners at the moment right behind the McLaren. Impressive to not have the dirty air, not be affected by the dirty air in this game. Mr. Barnes is very close to the V-Carb of Elite L-Dog ahead. He is under a lot of pressure at the moment to try and get that, as Tommy Gunn gets a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. I assume that's track limits. Mr. Barnes here has got DRS. Can he get closer? Is the pace difference that big with DRS as opposed to without? No, it is not, as he cannot quite get the move done. That will be unfortunate for Mr. Barnes, as there's a little bit of a lock-up there. I think that was from the McLaren behind, but that's a move for Caesar ahead of Infinite Loki. And there is Warder and Drift King battling it out in the background with the Krieger and Extra Rex right behind. They're doing a fantastic job here to not have a safety car yet, and they're keeping it very clean racing with all facts considered. I think that's that's front wing end plate damage for F1XL Arne, so he is fighting that car to try and keep that planted to the ground. Wow, some good racing here. Drift King gets another 3-second time penalty, and Warder gets a 3-second time penalty as well. Wow. Let's look at some of the penalties. So Drift King has got a 6 seconds penalty. Warder 3 seconds and Tommy 3 seconds. They're all right next to each other, so I think maybe what's happened there is one of them's went off and they've all just followed the same line, as the Krieger goes incredibly wide there at turn 1. Not what he's looking for there at all. Sparrow's getting very close to the back of the Williams of Bond to Bullets here. Can he move closer? Can he maybe just scratch the gearbox of that Williams? It would be impressive, that's for sure. He's very close, within 5/10. Oh, as that's Frankenthal. I think he had a little bit of a slide coming out of that corner, which has allowed Greeners to get past. Mr. Barnes as well, very close. Can he make the move in Elite L-Dog for a podium position here in this sprint race? He can. He's ahead, but Elite L-Dog defends, and there's contact between the two. That's in-plate damage for a driver, and that's a yellow flag as well. But Mr. Barnes stays right behind L-Dog. I don't know how Mr. Barnes will feel about that and that late-breaking move from L-Dog, but we will see. I wonder who that front wing end plate damage was from. I thought it looked like a V-carb, but Mr. Barnes doesn't look like he has damage there, and neither does L-Dog. So I don't think it was any of them. The McLaren, it was the McLaren front wing end plate, so Frankenthal has gotten damage here as he is being pressured by Sparrow behind. Can Sparrow get past for P5? He goes left, he goes right, he goes to the outside. If he can pull off this move, it would be extraordinary, but he's not managed to do it as the Krieger gets a 3-second penalty. Wow. 1/10 separates the McLaren and the Aston Martin here as we are halfway through this race. Wow, this is some good racing. Wow, it's exciting, and wow, this is incredible to watch. Bont only 3 seconds behind Sparrow. This is interesting to watch. Very exciting as they're all getting close. Semper's checked out. L-Dog and Barnes, they are battling still. Can Barnes maybe get over his frustrations and get past L-Dog for the podium in this sprint? He needs the points. He needs the bragging rights. Who doesn't? In the Alpine as Greeners and Caesar. Greeners overtakes Caesar with DRS as we see Bonta getting past Sparrow into that fast left-hander. And Bonta moves up a place. Still wheel to wheel, right, but stuck behind the McLaren, which has damage, but I reckon a move will be made soon on that McLaren. Mr. Barnes still stuck behind Elite L-Dog, not what he's looking for. He needs to get past if he wants any chance to fight with these front runners, but I highly doubt he will, considering there's 4 seconds between Elite L-Dog and Mr. Barnes. The two people in front have checked out as Mr. Tazo. He is bringing it back towards just Sempa as he is now only 1.4 seconds away. That was like, I swear that was like 1.8 a minute ago, so he is getting closer. Sempa maybe just struggling on his tyres a touch, but there's a lot of penalties coming in for Senna as Frankenthal gets overtaken by Bonta. I knew that was coming. Frankenthal struggling a bit probably with that damage on the McLaren. Still right behind the Williams though is Frankenthal, and Mr. Barnes edging even closer to Elite L-Dog. Can he get the move done in this straight, or will he not just have enough ERS? He goes maybe for a bit of a showing, basically saying I want to do this at the next corner. Dives down the inside a bit but doesn't quite go for the move. He's got DRS now, he's not using any ERS, so he's probably not wanting to overtake this lap that much. As we see the McLaren of Frankenthal trying to get past Bonta again. That damage clearly isn't doing that much as Caesar gets past Greeners. That damage in the McLaren clearly is doing not that much. It's reminding me a bit of Charles Leclerc this morning with at the Chinese Grand Prix. Mr. Barnes really can't get close to Elite L-Dog here. It's very unfortunate for him, as he is just using his battery very nicely. Elite L-Dog has high ERS, Barnes has high ERS, and Frankenthal is just not able to close the gap to him. Elite L-Dog is now 5 seconds behind as Mr. Tazo now has DRS towards just Sempa. This could be huge for the ending of the sprint. Sempa might just be struggling on his tyres just a little bit, but who knows. We've got a big DRS train here from 5th down to sort of 9th. led by the McLaren of Frank Hentel. Hopefully he can get some good points today, because he has done a good job fighting with that wing damage. Doing a good job defending and making sure that that wing damage is kept. Elite L-Dog gets a 3-second penalty, so now Mr. Barnes doesn't have to worry too much about passing him, as long as he manages to keep out of the penalties. Mr. Tazo only 6/10ths behind Sempa. Can he get a move done? Is he going to Bernie RS? Mr. Sempa moves to the left, so he's clearly defending, maybe a bit of weaving as he moves to the left and to the right, but Mr. Tazo, he goes close, he goes to the outside, he goes past as Sempa holds that inside line and keeps that position. Some brilliant defending from Sempa there. Wow. As Bonta gets past Frank Hentel, but Frank Hentel, and there's contact as Frank Hentel keeps on the throttle as he loses another position to Sparrow. This is not what he's wanting. Going into the sprint race, he is going into the feature race, he's not getting that much positions as Drift King gets ahead of Arne. Mr. Tazo only 4 seconds now, 4/10, sorry, behind Mr. Sempa, and he'll be wanting to use DRS. Oh, he's spun and he's crashed. Oh no, that is horrid for Mr. Tazo. That is not what he's looking for in this race, and that's allowed Elite L-Dog and Mr. Barnes to catch back up. That is not what Mr. Tazo was looking for. Just as he was edging closer, he was about to have a brilliant result getting into P1, but he just pushed the throttle a bit hard, spun it into the wall, and now he's got wing damage, and Elite L-Dog has made it past. Tazo will probably have to pit to fix that damage, I assume. That is unfortunate for him. He was doing a brilliant race up until that point, and he just can't handle it, and he's lost the position now to both L-Dog and Barnes. As Greeners gets another 3-second penalty, Tazo will be driving annoyed now. He will be frustrated. He will want to get this race over with and just get into the feature. Wow, that is unfortunate for him. A lot of penalties coming in now. Drift King, 9 seconds. RTS God gets in 3 seconds. Again, probably just due to cutting corners. It's a very big track as Tommy Gunn spins round. I assume these tyres are now very difficult as he drives back to the track. Can he avoid the wall? Yes, he does avoid the wall. Wow. He is not enjoying this race at all, is he? Mr. Tazo goes off again. Wow. He is not enjoying this. He goes wide. He lets a bunch of cars past. He is just frustrated now. He is driving annoyed. He is wanting to get this sprint race over with because he is not having it at all. Caesar to only 2/10ths away from Frank Hentel now as Mr. Barnes has dropped off of L-Dog. I assume he has just accepted the fact he doesn't need to get past because L-Dog has that 3-second penalty. 3-second penalty for Warder again as he now has 6 seconds, and Mr. Tazo, what has happened to him? He's going into the pits and he is retiring. I think, yes, he is retiring. Is he retiring? I don't quite know. He's definitely getting that wing fixed at the minimum. Shame for him. He was doing a brilliant job this race, but here he goes right to the end of the field trying to do this race. What a shame for him. He was doing so well, P2, and he just stepped on the throttle a bit too fast, and unfortunately that caused him to lose all those positions and is now in dead last. Mr. Barnes is back close to Elite L-Dog, only 8/10ths. I think at this point he'll probably just want to stay behind. He knows that position isn't too necessary. That position isn't too necessary for him to get past as long as he stays within 3 seconds, as we see Frank Hentel get overtaken and then re-overtake Total Caesar, but Total Caesar sticks it round the outside, so some brilliant wheel-to-wheel action as then Greeners is stuck right behind it. Still, wheel-to-wheel with Frank Hentel and Total Caesar. What can happen here? Let's find out. Oh, Frank Hentel loses the rear a bit and lets Greeners get right past. He'll be annoyed with himself with that one. Fast right-handers flat out the whole way as Greeners pulls to the right, brings it to the left, goes very wide. That is not what he's looking for at all, the Haas driver, as he stays behind the V-carb of Total Caesar. Can Greeners get past here? Goes to the outside. Caesar defends the inside line as Frank Hentel now is struggling a lot with that front wing damage. You can see him struggling as he was in a good position, and now he's not in a very good position. Warder Zero climbs up another position ahead of Infinite Loki, and Senna goes ahead of the Krieger. There are 3 wide through there, as RTS God also goes next to the Mercedes. Can he dive down the inside? He can! He's ahead of the Mercedes. They are wheel to wheel still. Are they going to go wheel to wheel through Section 1, or is there going to be contact? That's what I'm waiting for. No, the Krieger stays ahead of RTS God. Mr. Barnes still only within 5/10 of P2. So I take a drink of my water. I've just ate some ice. Mr. Barnes still in P2 behind L-Dog, with Greeners managing to try and just defend his position against Frank Entel, but he goes wide. Frank Entel maybe pushed him off there, I wasn't quite sure. The camera angles in this game are shit. But he still holds that position, and that's all that matters. Just Sempa's really checked out here. He has had a brilliant race start to finish, no mistakes from what I'm aware, and he crosses the line P1 and wins the sprint race at COTA for F1XL. Elite L-Dog a long distance behind, passes P2, but Mr. Barnes gets P2 through due to Elite L-Dog's penalty. Bonta finishes P3, with Elite L-Dog being dropped to P4 with his penalty. 5th for Total Caesar, and 6th for Sparrow. 7th, Frank Entel, brilliant job from him due to his wing damage. He did a very good job considering all of that. Greeners, good race from him, raced very hard, and I enjoy watching that. Infinite Loki, again, did a brilliant job, tried his absolute hardest, and same with Extra Rex. Obviously only the top 8 get points for the sprint, so take that as you will, but a brilliant job overall from Sempa. As Total Caesar gets driver of the day. Can't quite remember where he started, but if that's what the game says, that's what the game says. Main stories though, shame for Mr. Tazo. He had a brilliant race until right at that moment where he just clipped the exterior. No, he was a bit too greedy on his right pedal. Pushed it down too far, lost the rear. He tried to save it. You could see him really try his best before, unfortunately, going into the wall. No DNFs, no safety cars. Very good showing from Division 4. I must say, a lot of penalties, but as to be expected on such a difficult track. Time for one-shot quality again. Let's see who manages to get pole position in this second one-shot quality. Positioning. We'll just go with whoever we end up on. I know some drivers are certainly very fast, so we're going to hope. Sempa seems like a very fast driver, so he's definitely now the shoe-in to win the race, because he is very fast. Very fast indeed. Starting in 13 seconds in, I wonder what's going to happen in this race, or in this one-shot quali. Could be certainly pretty interesting. We will find out. As here we go, we're on board with Greeners. We will go with that then, as immediately someone goes off. Senna's in first, it's a Williams 1-2 going into turn 1. Braking for turn 1, misses the apex slightly, Greeners does, but that's fine. Continues going forward, keeps it to the apex, brings it just under the bridge before he turns left, turns right, turns left again for downshifting and maybe braking a touch into this next section of the track. Very easy to lose the rear through here, but just the elevation changes. Goes up into P2, Greeners, very fast sector run from him, as Sempa stays in first. What a surprise. Greeners getting a good exit there. Can he get the run down? He's using ERS down this straight and DRS to manage to get as much top speed as possible. approaching this bottom line, bring just before 100, trying to cut it over the curb. He does that perfectly. Braking just here, turning into the apex, misses the apex slightly, but that's fine. As he curves in, comes out to the right, brings it in, misses the apex in there slightly, but he's still fast. Mr. Brown's in P3 and Sparrow P4, and Mr. Tazo in P5. I hope Mr. Tazo doesn't get too demoralised from that result, because that sprint was unfortunate, but overall he did a good job. Sempa will probably get pole position here unless he messes up the final corner. Greeners, brilliant lap from him to get P2, Tazo P3, Caesar P4, Barnes P5, Bod Bullets P6, Warder 0 in P7 with RTS God 8 and Infinite Loki 9. Tommy Gunn gets 10th with Drift King, Drift King and Sparrow following. The Krieger, X-Rex, Arne, Senna, L-Dog and Frank Kentel were all disqualified, probably due to track limits, which I don't blame them for. It's a very difficult track to get right. I hope my audio levels are all good. I can turn down this slightly in case my audio levels aren't all good. But yeah, brilliant from the LM. Brilliant job from the guys. Fantastic lap from Sempa, 33.0. Fastest that Div 4's ever had is a 1:31.0, but that was in the 2021 game, so I doubt we will ever get that close for a long time. Tazo, good to see him back up there. Obviously not the pole position he had originally, but he is doing a great job here in the Aston Martin. Here we are then, waiting for the race to start. I don't know when we're starting. I don't know anything like that. I am just going with it and hoping for the best. Hold on. Gotta send this message to somebody. Yeah, so, through the sprint race, got a lot of stories to talk about. Mr. Tazo crashing out, big one. Unfortunate for him. He was doing a brilliant job. An absolutely fantastic job. And you gotta feel bad for the guy. There was that gap initially. He brought that gap back down, and then he just was pushing too hard, clearly, and lost it at the final corner. Another thing to mention was the brilliant fight from Frank Entel in the McLaren to manage to stay in points contention with that wing damage. He was doing great, fantastic job. Massive well done to him. Sempa just has unreal speed, needs to really be mentioned because that speed was ominous. He finished about 7 seconds ahead in a 10 lap race. That's something which is not often seen. Not often seen at all. Sempa has been a very consistent driver, looking in. He is, last 5 races, he has managed to get 2 top 5 finishes in the past 5 races. So maybe he's just tried a little bit harder for this race. Maybe practiced a few more laps. Found the right setup, whatever it is. He is doing an exceptional job this weekend. And he is, absolutely smashing it out of the park. Don't know when we're starting this race, so we will go back to this scene as we go back through the topology, I think it's called, of the map, and we'll figure out what happens here. Hopefully it's nothing too bad, but we're just in that sort of chill phase between the race and the sprint. The chill race where we hope something goes right, something hopefully always goes right. We don't like when it doesn't go right. But Sempa's pace is unreal. Let's talk about tyres, because who doesn't love some good tyre chat? What it looks like at the moment is everybody is on mediums for the race, other than Greeners, who's wanting to go hard. So maybe he's going the alternate strategy where he starts hard and goes to the mediums at the end. I've not actually done too much research on the strategy of this race, so I guess we'll find out what that ends up being, as Sempa also moves to hard tyres. So, very interesting from him. Hold on, I need to have a look, see. Fantastic. Right. Yes, okay. Everyone's still in mediums other than the top two drivers. I mean, with Sempa's pace, he could choose any tyre and manage to get ahead and get fast. That's all that really matters, isn't it? He can get fast. He is fast. He can get away no matter what position he's in. I just hope Mr. Tazo has a better race. Maybe one of those mediums, he'll get a better start, manage to get ahead of maybe a couple drivers and hopefully hold that position. I don't know what time we're starting at. Hopefully it's not too far away. As we're waiting for this race to start. This is when you can relax, cool down, maybe go to the toilet, and figure out sort of what you're doing for your race. Think about how you're going to do different things. Think about how you're going to, survive the race. See what you're going to do. Think about turn one. Is someone going to come plummeting into you? If they do, what do you do? Do you pit? Do you stay out? Do you hope for the best and wait for a safety car? Not had a safety car this weekend yet in Div 4, so very interested to see what happens. I'm going to turn on my fan because it's very warm in my room. In live for 49 minutes so far, as we're just getting the race underway at 21:45. We'll see how this race turns out. As we see all the audience waving in Paddock Club and above the team garages, I bet they'll be excited for the race ahead. There's not really much I can show here, really. Could talk about tyres, could talk about the drivers, could talk about the sprint. I've done all of that as we go towards the formation lap here. Sempa gets away. Greeners gets away. Greeners immediately takes the lead of the formation lap, but lets Sempa go right back past. Mr. Tazo, P3, hopefully he'll be hoping for a better race. He'll be hoping to hopefully keep control of those rear tyres, not cook them too much, keep them going. Obviously wasn't the race for him in the sprint, mentioned that already, but he is doing a fantastic job there in that Aston Martin with qualifying position. Total Caesar behind, good qualifying from him, and Mr. Barnes in P5. He'll be wanting to move up the field a bit, but he is in P5 in the standings, so maybe that is where he should be. Just waiting for this formation lap to be finished. Probably race strategies. Let's have a look at the... Let's not keep any of them up just now. Turn on telemetry, lap data, and our full track maps on. Okay, let's have a look at the tyres just now. So we've got 3 medium runners of Sempa Greeners and F1XL Arnie, but the rest are all on mediums, so hopefully Tazo will be hoping to get a good launch off the start. Those medium tyres will give him a couple extra meters of grip. I am just commentating just now, Tamsin. Hopefully those mediums will give him a little bit of a couple extra meters of grip and allows him to go into first in the race. Sempa taking back control, weaving those tyres, trying to heat them up, generate as much temperatures as possible. trying not to touch any of the other drivers. Oh, as one of the Williams goes wide, maybe that's a sign for the race. Turns in, maybe do a couple burnouts before the race start. We'll see. He definitely wants to do some weaving, making sure that he is getting that car nice and warm for the race start. Greener's right behind the Haas, ready to get the pounds, get the launch on Sempa. Hopefully this isn't a complete, big issue. This starting angle is rubbish for this game, but we're going to go with it, and we're going to hope for the best. Sempa in P1, waiting for the rest of the cars to line up on the grid as we go for the lights going on. And it's foot to the floor as Sempa gets a decent launch, but Greeners stays right behind. Tazo gets a good launch. What did I say? Those medium tyres would help him out. As Greeners goes into P1. Greeners does get a good launch, but pushes Sempa wide. Tazo, can he make a move down into this move? He can. He's ahead of Sempa. Can he stay ahead of Sempa, though, is the question. Sempa moves 2 positions. That's not the start that he would have wanted, as that is one of the Mercedes going wide of the Krieger, and Senna going wide, being pushed off maybe a bit by Sparrow, Tommy Gun, and X-Rex pull the move on Drift King. Brilliant job from him. It's a brilliant move as Drift King and Frankento look like they have a little bit of contact just in the background there. F1XL Arnie and Elite L-Dog are battling, and that's a spin for Elite L-Dog now at the back of the grid, but he can hopefully keep on going. He is doing a great job. As Tazo, can he get the win? He is into P1. That's exactly what he needed to do for the sprint, and he has not lost his rear tyres yet. Still wheel to wheel here as they go into the turn after there. Can he hold the outside line? He is still ahead. He gets ahead. He stays ahead, and those medium tyres are doing wonders for him at the moment, as we see Caesar and Sempa battling for P4. Sempa now maybe under pressure from Mr. Barnes as he tries to go round the outside. Those hard tyres are not working well for Sempa at all. Going towards this and maybe pulling the left-hander here. Can he maybe get a good move on? That's contact, I think, between Bonta Bullets and the kick Sauber of Warder 0. Or Warder 0? Warder 0? I don't know. Mr. Tazo gets fastest lap for lap 1, but he needs to be careful because DRS is now enabled as Greeners edges closer and closer in his MoneyGram Toyota Gazoo Racing Haas. Mr. Tazo needs to keep the pressure on and keep the pace up, as it looks like he is doing that. 9/10 he is ahead of Greeners. As Drift King gets a penalty for multiple warnings. I assume that will be track limits, as we see F1XL Senna still going off the track. He will be collecting a bunch of penalties here, I can imagine. If we see F1XL Arnie overtaking, or Sparrow overtaking F1XL Arnie, and F1XL Arnie managing to try to fight back, but he can't quite do it, as we see him move. Multiple moves as Warder 0 gets ahead of Mr. Barnes there. And Mr. Barnes gets pushed wide by Warder 0 as Warder 0 spins off. Or Warder 0. Warder spins off. That is not what he was going to be looking for. Unfortunate for him. That's not ideal, and that's not how you control a racing car. Senna gets past. Warder gets back past. Senna, can he get past? I have no idea. As Tazo sets another fastest lap. We see X-Rex losing a bunch of position to both Drift King and Infinite Loki. And Infinite Loki loses a position to Drift King. He is doing some brilliant racing at the moment. Hopefully they can keep this pace up. He can. Kick Sauber stays behind, is now being under pressure by X-Rex as they're going wheel to wheel into Sector 1. But X-Rex just backs out of that, noticing probably isn't the best idea. Frankento's very close to the back of RTS God. He is wheel to wheel as you can get. There's a spin at the back. Warder 0 is off the track. And that is again not what he's looking for. His tyres must have overcooked a bit. Maybe once he went onto those, once he spun that first time, not ideal for him. Greeners getting very close to the back of Tazo. Maybe he can get a move back past in the Haas. He goes have a look down the inside, but doesn't quite manage to do it as Bonta goes up past Mr. Barnes. Mr. Barnes will be wanting to move farther forward here, but probably doesn't want to really, as Frankento made a mistake. He's losing a lot of positions here, and maybe just maybe gets a better, worse exit than a couple of the other drivers. Still wheel to wheel, almost 3 wide through these fast right-handers. That's contact, and Drift King drifts round the corner, spins off. Think he avoids damage, but he manages to stay in the race, and that is all that matters. But he is down into P15 as he is pushed off the track by the Kreuger. That's the Infinite Loki, the Ferrari of Infinite Loki going wide as a front wing end plate, I think I saw get disbanded there. Don't know what car that is just yet, but hopefully we can figure that out. It's the V carb of Elite L-Dog. He would have been hoping for a better race after his sprint. He had a brilliant sprint race, from what I remember. As he gets a penalty, yeah, this day's even getting even worse for Elite L-Dog. The points are not in the sprint, they're in the Grand Prix. Mr. Tazo still under pressure from Greeners as Sempa in P4 is still putting Total Caesar under pressure. Greeners probably could get a good move on here though. Can he get ahead? He pulls to the outside. He gets ahead of Mr. Tazo going in towards the late braking zone in the back straight. Greeners well ahead of Tazo. Brilliant move from him, as Tazo probably just wants to stay behind now. Wants to keep that pace up. Wants to make sure he can stay on the back of Greeners, wanting a good result after his unfortunate sprint. Who's racing? It's Division 4 for the F1XL League. Doing some commentating for them. So X-Rex gets ahead of RTS God in the Haas. I was going to say this could be a very good race for Haas, or it could be a very bad race for Haas, but at the moment it's looking like a very good one. Greeners keeping that gap at 5/10. Mr. Tazo just pulling around and getting DRS. Maybe he's using overtakes. He wants to use his ERS. He pulls to the inside. Greeners has a lot more ERS than him, but Tazo manages to get ahead of Greeners. Sempa still putting Total Caesar under pressure for this race. Maybe this is still something to do, as Sparrow looks like he loses a lot of positions. That's because he's in the pits. Sparrow getting his front wing replaced. Thank you, Tamsin. Sparrow getting his front wing replaced due to probably some damage that he maybe didn't want, as Elite L-Dog gets his front wing replaced as well. I did mention about that front wing damage earlier. He is very unfortunate to get that after such a strong performance in the sprint. Mr. Tazo losing a lot of positions. He's spun off again. That is not what he's looking for. He needs to get control over the rear of his car. He really, really isn't doing that good of a job in that car. Can he close the gap up? 2.3 seconds. I think he probably can. Whether it's a strategical call, maybe from an undercut, as we see Mr. Barnes and Bonta battling. Can Mr. Barnes get the move done? Can Bonta get the move done? Bonta's ahead, but Mr. Barnes pulls to the inside, gets the position back. Wow, this is wheel to wheel. This is incredible from the Div 4 boys. Sempa still putting loads of pressure underneath Total Caesar. Bringing it just to the exit of that penultimate corner, and then bringing it just to the exit of the final corner. I assume he can do this. He's 2/10 behind. He's got a big long straight to get past. He probably doesn't even need ERS, as Caesar is probably burning a little bit. Sempa's ahead, but he goes a bit wide on exit. Caesar goes for the switchback. Caesar stays around the outside. Is there going to be contact? This is very close racing. Caesar stays ahead of Sempa. Sempa will just get a little bit annoyed from that, but not much else he could do. Mr. Tazo still struggling there in the back. 1.9 seconds, that was 2.1, so it looks like he is beginning to claw away at those positions in front. Unfortunate for him, really expected him to do better after getting into obviously the lead of the race. As Sempa now just behind Total Caesar, goes wheel to wheel towards the braking zone, brakes a bit later, gets ahead, and he is now ahead of Caesar. He can now chase forward, seeing if he can catch up to Greeners, which I know he probably can. Caesar now just needs to stay on the back of Sempa for this race to be good. He needs to make sure that he stays all okay, stays in shape, doesn't do what Tazo's done and spun off twice. Tazo will now be driving angry. He has closed that gap from 2.1 down to 1.2, and there's an infinite, there's a Ferrari, I think it was Drift King. I think he probably spun off. Not ideal for him. I think that's what I looked at anyway for the map. I could be wrong with that one. I don't know fully what happened. Mr. Tazo only 1.5 seconds behind now. After making a mistake, he will be wanting to at least get a podium in this race. It'll be a brilliant result if he can get a podium. But he just needs to make sure he doesn't lose that rear end more than he has done today, because that is unfortunate for him. Mr. Barnes only 2 tenths away from Bonta. Can he climb his way back into P5? I guess we'll find out. Through the twisted turny section, as there's a 10-second penalty for Drift King as he speeds in the pit lane. This is an unfortunate race for him. 16 seconds worth of penalties he has got. That is not what he's looking for. He damaged both of his front wing end plates. This isn't good. This isn't good for Drift King. Smallest gap we've got at the moment is probably Mr. Barnes and Bonta Billets towards this turn here. Total Caesar has dropped out of the DRS of Total Sempa, just Sempa, sorry. And Mr. Barnes is just behind Bonta Billets in 6 tenths as we see a move between Tommy Gun and the Haas of RTS God. They were wheel to wheel. Can Tommy Gun pull a switchback? He can. He's ahead of the Haas of RTS God. Brilliant job from him, making sure that he just pulls that move. You know, brilliant job from him, making sure that that is all done successfully. Drift King, another 3-second penalty. 19 seconds, mate. You are having an absolute howler. Not enjoying this at all from you. You're probably just sitting at the back waiting for a safety car. Gone wide again, probably going to get another warning for that one. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Not having a good day out there, are you? As Mr. Barnes is only 1/10 away from Bonta Billets. Can he maybe pull a move off? He's in the twisty turny section of the track. Very similar to Magnussen Beckett's in Silverstone, if you know what that is. Trying to get very close to the back of Bonta, and he is very close to the back of Bonta. He can, maybe, who knows, get the race position here. Leading into the back straight, he goes, looks down the inside, just maybe to show Bonta, hey, I'm here. Let's see what you've got in store. I want to get ahead of you. I have ended up commentating because I asked very nicely if they wanted me to commentate on a division. And because I wanted to. RTS God, only 8 tenths behind Tommy Gun in the Haas. Very close. 6 tenths now. Very close. And Mr. Barnes only 4 tenths off of... Oh, we almost saw contact there as we went on board with Mr. Barnes. You know what, Bonta's struggling a lot with the rear. He almost did what Tazo did earlier and just a little bit twitchy on the rear with his rear tyres. Maybe that's, whether that's temperatures, whether that's pressures, no matter what it is, he is struggling there, Bonta. It's very clear to see. Mr. Barnes looks like he is loving this time as an Alpine driver. Pulls into the slipstream. He's 4 tenths behind. Don't think he'll get the move done. He's not using overtakes, so he's not trying to overtake at the moment, as he stays right behind Bonta for this race as Warder pulls off a move on the Krieger. Mr. Barnes 2 tenths behind. Oh, but he has an absolute howler of a first sector and is now dropped back to a second behind. That's not what Barnes was looking for, but knowing him and his tyres, he could pull it back. he can make sure that he can get closer to that car ahead of him, because that's what he needs to do, and he knows it. He knows that's what he needs to do. As Mr. Tazo gets in the DRS of Total Caesar, but drops just back out. I assume a bad exit from him, maybe. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, F1XL. So F1XL is a racing league, and it's Division 4 of the racing league. So they've got Division 1, which is the fastest of the fastest, down to Division 4. So this is the lowest division. And it's brilliant racing, considering all of that. Tommy Gun, only 6 points. Oh, the Krieger pulls off a moving Warder on the back straight. This is for P12 they're fighting for. As the Warder pulls it back towards the inside. Krieger goes wide, Warder goes wide. Warder spins off again. Wow, that's like 3 times this race. It's not ideal for the Warder. He is not having a good time, as there's a yellow flag, but it's green again. 8-10s between Tommy and Arnie. Here you can see, got DRS wide open. Mr. Barnes only 3-10s off of Bonta, which I feel is also important to mention. Senna 5-10s off of Elite L-Dog, but there's 9 seconds of penalty. I have the HyperX Cloud 3 microphone. It's part of my headset. Senna 5-10s behind. Can he get a move off on Elite L-Dog? It will technically be for track position, but it might not be necessarily for finishing position due to his penalty. And he has a look down the outside, but doesn't manage to get that move completed. Bonta Bullets right behind Mr. Barnes. Mr. Barnes must have pulled off a move on Bonta. I must have missed that. My apologies. So engrossed in the battling, and I just didn't see the move. That was a shame. As we see Frankento move to the outside. Can he get past Bonta? He can. Maybe. As he locks up, lights up the rears on exit, but doesn't quite manage to get past the Williams ahead of him. Frankento still probably wanting to get this move done. Tazo still only 1.3 seconds away from Total Caesar ahead. Frankento 5-10s, 4-10s away from Bonta. Bonta out of DRS from Mr. Barnes, so he is clearly struggling here with his tyres, Bonta. As Frankento, can he get past? He opens that DRS of his. He's got overtake on. He's using all of his energy store, but he doesn't quite have the pace to get out and to get the move done. As Arnie and Tommy Gun are battling, as XRX goes into the pits. I assume that's he's pitted for tyres. I assume, if we check, yeah, XRX first. I would say first, but is a driver who has pitted to get onto those hard tyres. I forget you need to pit in these races. So he's the first to do it without wing damage, I think. We'll go into tyre information just now. There we go. So expect some fresh, hard tyres for the end of this race. Greener's still on those hards at the front of the field, with Sempa right behind, 1.8 seconds on the same hard tyres. Mr. Tazo 1.2 seconds away. That was 2.1 seconds if you remember back to when he spun off. So he has done a great job in bringing this back. He's just keeping the pace steady on those medium tyres, hoping he can get back into DRS range of Total Caesar, hoping he can maybe get closer as Warder pulls off a move on the Krieger. But the Krieger tries to hold around the outside. The Krieger gets a better exit out of that corner. Can they maybe go wheel to wheel here? No, they can't. The Warder stays in P11. The Krieger goes down to P12. And that's some good defending. Bonta and Frankentel are now pitting. This is huge for both of them. Maybe Bonta's trying the undercut on Mr. Barnes. We will find out that. As he puts on the hard tyres, he gets held a little bit, but he goes. He's now just missed out a little bit to Frankentel, and Frankentel's ahead now, who pits onto the medium tyres. RTS God pits in the Haas, pits on those hard tyres to go and exit the pits and hopefully get a very good result on that. Has Tazo made another mistake? He's 1.7 seconds behind now, 1.5. He's brought it back, but he's back at 1.8. I don't know what he's done, but that gap was 1.4, so I don't know what he's managed to do. As Sparrow and Warder have a move, but Warder's missed out as, wow, he has lost his whole front wing. That seems like contact, and it's a virtual safety car. As he touches Infinite Loki ahead of him, virtual safety car, I assume for the contact between Warder and I can't remember who was ahead, but Warder getting in trouble for that, losing his front wing. He is having an absolute shocking race, Mr. Warder. I've run out of water. This is not what I'm looking for. This brings a break to the race then. Gives a chance for the leaders to pit. Makes the pit strategy very interesting, but does Sempa stay out? Sempa does stay out. Why does he do that? Greener's pits under virtual safety car. That will have a reduced pit time for him. Sempa, I reckon, will end up regretting staying out, but we'll find out. He might have just thrown that race one away. Maybe it's too long for the mediums. Maybe the mediums don't last a whopping... How many laps is that? 16? 13, 15 laps. Maybe the mediums don't last 15 laps. Who knows? I can feel my throat beginning to go. As we are in the virtual safety car, we are watching Sempa and the Krieger come into the pits. Mr. Tazo stay pitted onto fresh medium. Fresh hard, sorry. Mr. Barnes is right behind him. And that's multiple penalties for speeding. The Krieger pits, Infinite Loki pits. He is held. He is trying to get that front wing replaced for himself. Word 0, getting that front wing replaced as well, and serving his 10-second penalty, I assume. Yes, serving his 10-second penalty. Infinite Loki comes out of the pits in P16, not the position he would have been wanting for the race. RTS God here in the Haas in P14. Everyone around him has penalties, so he is doing a very good job to not have a penalty at the moment. Mr. Tazo 3 seconds away from Mr. Barnes, and oh, I didn't realise it went green again apparently. Okay. Mr. Barnes on the back of Mr. Tazo. Can he get the move done? Can he get close? Can he get ahead? Mr. Tazo, P5, lost a lot of ground to Total Caesar over that safety car period as Sempa pits and Greeners goes ahead. I did say Sempa would end up regretting not pitting under virtual safety car, but mistakes can be made as Arne goes into P2. That was a brilliant race from him so far. Moving up from whatever grid position he was in, up to P2. Absolutely phenomenal job from him. It's Tommy Gun. Gets ahead of Extra X, but that's because Extra X goes into the pits. Has Extra X got more wing damage? That would not be very fun for him. Barnes right behind Tazo towards this twisty section of the track. Barnes on the back of Mr. Tazo, almost on his gearbox, is so close, but he loses all of his time in this middle sector. It goes 4 tenths, 5 tenths, 6 tenths as the Krieger gets past Extra Rex, I assume on the main straight. No, that's because Extra Rex is in the pits. I forget these facts. Frankenthal now very close to the 3 of them. Mr. Tazo brought it back to Total Caesar, to be fair. He's now 2.3 behind, as opposed to when he was, 2.3 seconds behind. As Frankenthal has a little look down the inside there, but nothing comes of that. Down onto Mr. Barnes. Mr. Tazo here, he is doing his best job that he can in this Aston Martin as Drift King gets another penalty. Come on, Drift King. You know you can do better than that. You don't need so many different penalties. You've got 28 seconds worth of penalties, Drift King. I know it's a lot of track limits, but you're in dead last as well. It's unfortunate, Drift King. I know you can do better though. F1XL Arne gets passed by just Sempa. His tyres must be screaming at him just now with how old his tyres are. 14 laps on those tyres will cause a lot of wear. Currently the oldest tyres in the grid Mr. Arne has. So he might be pitting sometime soon. Lap 15 out of 28. Greeners is leading ahead of Sempa and Arne, but Arne still has to pit. Tazo still closing in on Caesar, but Caesar just managing to keep the pace up just that little bit to keep Tazo around 2.5 seconds behind him. Mr. Barnes only 3/10 away from Mr. Tazo. Do we think he can make a move onto the back straight? We go. He opens the DRS wide. He deploys his overtake, all 60% of his charge. He pulls to the inside of the track. He's ahead of Mr. Tazo. Going into the braking zone. Can Frank Entel get past as well? Frank Entel goes. There's contact. I think. I could be wrong. That could have just been a bad camera angle. But Mr. Tazo battles and defends against our good friend Mr. Barnes here. Mr. Barnes stays ahead, taking the inside line and succeeding in keeping 5th position. Frank Entel would really want to get in on this, to use those medium tyres that he has on and get ahead of them. Preferably them both, and use some of his pace, as we see just Sempa put in the fastest lap of the race. He's currently 8 seconds behind Greeners. Greeners is in a very comfortable position to win this race. Very impressive stuff from him as Mr. Barnes gets back past Mr. Tazo gets back past Mr. Barnes. I'm running out of water here. Mr. Barnes, 3/10 behind Mr. Tazo. He'll be wanting to make that move back. He'll be wanting to use his ERS. He'll be wanting to defend his P5 that he thinks he should be getting. But Frank Entel is just a considerable, as Sparrow gets a 3-second penalty, Frank Entel's just a considerable threat right on his rear end, wanting to get past. Every time he goes for a move, every time he loses a bit of time with a little mistake, Frank Entel is just sitting there in his medium tyres, wanting to pull that move to get ahead of Mr. Tazo. Mr. Barnes, he's got DRS. He's not using much overtake, but he pulls to the outside, to the inside, sorry. He gets ahead of Mr. Tazo. There might be a little bit of contact there as Mr. Barnes stays on the outside line. Tazo's ahead. Frank Entel's right behind. He goes to the inside line, Frank Entel, and he's all of a sudden he's wheel to wheel with Frank Entel. But now he stays ahead of both of them. He stays ahead of Frank Entel. Mr. Tazo stays ahead of both of them. And just Sempa, huge, gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He must have went a little bit wide. He is pushing his hardest to try and get this fastest lap. He's wanting another fastest lap, I assume. He's on 5%. 5% ERS with Greeners in P1 right behind. Mr. Barnes, Mr. Tazo, and Frank Entel. This is a brilliant battle between the three of them. I'm loving watching this. But nothing done on the main straight this time. X-Rex, 3-second time penalty for him due to multiple warnings. He must have went a bit wide. Here's contact. He is struggling there. What has happened there? He's crashed out. And wow, we have caught in that live on the stream. That is not ideal for X-Rex at all as a safety car is deployed. Wow, X-Rex, that is unfortunate for him. He's currently sitting 3rd in the standings, and that is not the result that he's wanting for 3rd in the standings. He could have taken P2 in the standings today, but he didn't. He really didn't. He will be losing potentially a position to Mr. Barnes here, with how unfortunate that crash was. He will not have been looking for that as Greeners. Now, maybe was just unfortunate for that, because he's wanting to keep this 8-second advantage, this 9-second advantage it is now. Greeners won't be wanting to lose that, and he will now be very upset that he is now losing that. He's had a brilliant race so far, Greeners. Rapid pace in quali, rapid pace in the race, made all the right strategic calls. He's going to go into the pits now and hopefully pit for a new set of tyres, wanting to have that advantage going into the next set of, the next sort of, what tyres are going to put on? He's going to put on another fresh set of medium tyres. Fair play to him as Drift King gets another penalty. Drift King, what are you doing, mate? How on earth do you still have 31 seconds of penalties. That is shocking. That is absolutely shocking. As Mr. Tazo doesn't pit, stays on his hard tyres that he's had for the past 5 laps. Screeners stays in the lead, catches up with the safety car, stays right behind. Mr. Tazo right behind into P2 now, with Sempa right behind, who put on also a fresh set of mediums. Mr. Barnes behind Sempa in P4 with his hard tyres, and Bonta with his old hard tyres on as well. Caesar in the mediums with Arne, Frankentel, Sparrow, Tommy, L-Dog, all pitting for fresh tyres, as well as Senna, RTS God, and Warder 0. The safety car could save a lot of people's races, but F1XL Senna has just made an absolute crucial error, getting a 10-second penalty for crossing the pit exit line. That's not what he would have been looking for in this particular race. Greener's then under a bit of pressure for this race start. Obviously he's got the mediums on. He'll be thankful that Tazo behind hasn't pitted, so he has got that buffer area to Mr. Sempa behind Tazo. Not really much I can say during the safety car period. We could talk about some of the stories of this race so far. Drift King getting multiple penalties. He could be, you know, he needs to just keep it on track. That's all he needs to do now. Try and get rid of some of those penalties, keep it on track, and just finish the race. Massive, massive well done to him for having the motivation to even continue this race. You know, I remember back when I was racing, I struggled a lot with motivation. If I had a bad race, and a lot of the time I would just retire. So he's done a great job. So he should be proud of himself to keep that motivation up. Warder spinning off multiple times. That's not great for him. He did start in a decent position, I'm pretty sure. If we look at the race director, Warder started all the way up in P7. So obviously he's not had the race which he's been looking for at all. You know, Arne's had a good race. That's something we should talk about. Arne, obviously, where did he start? Arne started up in P14, so he has halved his starting position. Managed to get up to P7. He's had a great race so far, even taking P2 for some of it. He'll be very happy with himself. Mr. Tazo again struggling with the exits of corners. I don't know whether it's his differential setting or what, or whether it's tyre temperatures, but he just keeps on sliding. Puts that pressure too hard down on the accelerator and burns out his rear tyres. That won't just be causing him to spin off, but will also be causing a lot more wear. So he needs to begin to be very careful of that, and at this point he just needs to stay on the road. He doesn't want what happened in the sprint to happen to him in the main race. He doesn't want to spin off and lose this P2. He's got it. He's a good driver. I know he's got it. So he just needs to work hard at it and do his best. Krieger, what's happening here? He's just lost loads of positions. Went off track. And now, what is happening at the back here? As we've got loads of drivers' positions changing under safety car, which could expect a ticket for that at some point, because that should not be happening. I don't know when this safety car is going to end. It might be soon, might not be soon. Still waiting on the two Kick Saubers catching up, which could be what we're waiting on. 9 laps to go, lap 19 of 28. We are on a safety car period at the moment, with Greeners in the lead, Mr. Tazo in second, just Sempa in third, Mr. Barnes in fourth, Bunt in fifth, Total Caesar in sixth, F1XL Arne in seventh, 28 Frankentel. What is happening here? What actually is happening here? They should not be overtaking under safety car. And yeah, Frankentel's just gotten a severe penalty for crashing into F1XL Arne. I think the race is... Nope, safety car's still there. I saw everybody slowing down at the last corner. I thought maybe, just maybe, they're going to bring it back, but they aren't. Elite L-Dog, 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I don't know what's happened there. Is he retiring from the session? I don't know. Is he letting people past? He is retiring from the session. Okay. That is not what Elite L Dog's looking for. He's had an is he? This game is so bugged, it's unreal. Elite L Dog, what's he done? He's not retiring from the session. I just thought that looked like he was retiring from the session. He's missing a front wing end plate under safety car period. How has there been more drama in the safety car period for this race than out of the safety car period? Drift King, with those soft tyres, are we wanting to make an impression? They're all at the back of the trail. I think this will be the last lap of the safety car. I think the safety car will be ending at the end of this lap. So let's talk about what Greeners has to do. He's weaving. He knows he needs those tyres to be nice and warm for the start. He needs to hold back and go just when he feels like it is the best moment. And when he goes, he needs to go. He cannot make a mistake, otherwise he'll be under immediate pressure from both Tazo and Sempa behind. He knows what he needs to do. Safety car in this lap, it has been said. Greeners holding back the pack. Let's see what happens here. They're almost wheel to wheel here, they're going so slow. Greeners stays just at a decent pace, trying to wait for the moment to catch the different drivers out. We'll see when he goes. We will hold it on this camera until he goes. He's got a little bit of throttle. He'll probably go just after the penultimate corner. Any moment now he can go. He's gone. He has absolutely floored it. Foot to the floor. He is on the final lap. No, he's not on the final lap. He is on the first lap after the safety car period. Tazo right behind him. Sempa behind him. Mr. Barnes in P4. As we immediately see a move for Caesar on Bonta Bullets on the V-carb. Good from him. Pushes Bonta a bit wide, but Bonta stays on track and doesn't get any warnings from it. F1XL Arnie only 3/10 behind Bonta. Can maybe Arnie pull off a move on Bonta? Who knows at this moment. Sempa, P3, still racing with Mr. Tazo ahead. Mr. Tazo will be struggling on these old hard tyres, and we can see that immediately with us already losing 1.2 seconds to Greeners ahead. Greeners will be loving that Mr. Tazo is holding up Sempa like this, because he would have seen the sprint race. He would have seen how far ahead Sempa was. So he knows that he needs as much buffer area as he can possibly get for this race. Tazo is using his ERS to defend. He brakes later. Sempa takes the inside line. Tazo manages to stay on. That is the worst camera angle ever. Tazo holds the inside line. Can he keep it on the inside? Goes switch to the inside through here, and Tazo is ahead. Caution sector 1 as Elite L Dog has an absolute shocker of a start. Tazo stays in P2s. They're going wheel to wheel through the triple right hander, and then through the left hander they go wheel to wheel as well. They stay wheel to wheel. Wow, as Tazo gets pushed wide. L-Dog, Simple, stays behind Tazo as he knows that's Tazo's position. So it's very bumper carsy. It's reminding me of. As the Krieger gets the 3-second time hill, look at all these penalties that are coming in now. Lap 22 28. DRS is enabled as we see the Krieger and Warder getting wheel to wheel through turn 1. Warder gets ahead, but spins off again. Loses the rear. He really needs to stop doing that. That is not what he's looking for at all. The kick Sauber. Frankento right behind Arnie then. Maybe he can pull off a move as Infinite Loki gets ahead of Krieger. Into turn 1, I think that was. He got ahead. Mr. Tazo behind Sempa now, but he's got ERS. He's got DRS. He's got everything in his power to try and get back past, but will he get back past? Sempa does not want to be stuck behind that Aston Martin for any longer. His tyres are killing him, Mr. Tazo, but he is ahead again of just Sempa. That will not be very loving to Sempa. Sempa will not enjoy that at all. Senna and Tommy Gunn have a little battle at the back there. Here we go then. Sempa stays behind Tazo, but he'll probably get him on this next straight. Tazo, some brilliant racing to stay ahead of Sempa, to be fair, and some brilliant defending to get ahead of him. Brilliant attacking to get ahead of him, apologies. Sempa will probably get past him here, as long as Tazo doesn't make any mistakes. He just needs to hold that throttle well. Sempa pulls to the inside. Can he get ahead? He does get ahead into turn 1. Sempa is into P2. 4.6 seconds off of Greeners. Looks like Greeners has this race under control. Tazo tries to stick it around the outside of this position. Wow. Tazo, what can he do here? Those tyres, you can see him just trying to throw the car around. Those tyres just not holding on as much as he probably would have wanted. Tazo knows he needs to stay in the position where he can get DRS off of Sempa. He knows he needs that DRS to stay ahead of other drivers behind. He knows Mr. Barnes is wanting to get ahead of him, and he is wanting a podium. Mr. Barnes deserves a podium. Cheap viewers on, okay. We are going to immediately, yes I know, but I need to remove Stream Manager. I need to delete this message, because I can't be having stuff like that. Ban, there we are. Right, so, Mr. Tazo, ahead of Mr. Barnes, who's ahead of Caesar, as we see Bontebillets and Arnie fighting in the background here. What can they do? Arnie goes towards the more inside line. Bonta just staying in there. Arnie, what can he do? Going into the final corner. He gets DRS as he should. Deploys a bit of DRS, I'm assuming. Bit of overtake to get past Bonta. In the slipstream, pulls out of the slipstream. Can he brake later? No, he doesn't. He just shows his face a little bit, but it shows nothing. Can't be done. Mr. Tazo still within DRS of Mr. Sempa, which is very impressive considering Tazo's on 11 lap old hards and Sempa's on 6 lap old mediums. Six tenths is the gap between Sempa and Tazo as they go into the back straight. 4 laps remaining in this race. This is beginning to get properly spicy. As we see Bonta going wide as Arnie gets past using DRS on the back straight. Elite L-Dog, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's not what he'll be looking for. He's had an absolute shocker of a race ever since the safety car. I don't know what's happened to him during the safety car. Obviously we had that little moment where he pulled off at the left hand side. I don't know what happened there, but I guess we will find out after the race. F1XL Senna battling with Sparrow ahead in the other Aston Martin. And Elite L-Dog gets another 3-second time penalty. It's not what he's looking for. Frankento, this is a big DRS train down as Caesar is only 1/10 behind Mr. Barnes. Can Caesar pull to the inside? He breaks late, but he cannot quite get that move done on Mr. Barnes. Mr. Barnes will be defending his life away to try and keep this P4. His chances of a podium are going as he is now outside of DRS for Mr. Tazo here. This is not what he's looking for, but Sempa and Senna getting a 3-second time penalty. Sempa, this isn't what you're looking for, mate. You have 6 seconds now, I think, if I double check. Yeah, 6 seconds for Sempa now. Tazo will just want to be staying just behind him. As long as he cannot get a penalty, Mr. Tazo should be in a good position to get a good finishing position here of P2, presumably. He's got DRS, but he knows he doesn't need to quite get past. He knows he only needs to get past if he wants to. But Sempa is on no ERS, and Tazo goes past. As Total Caesar gets past Mr. Barnes as well, and Bonta gets past Arnie. But this is wheel to wheel for Barnes and Caesar, and Arnie and Bonta are wheel to wheel as well. It's a phenomenal track for racing. So many different alternative lines you can take through as Frank Kentel now challenges Arne into this fun and twisty section of the track. Triple right-hander now cooks your front left tyre. Not what they are looking for at all. Giuseppe still behind Mr. Tazo, but he knows he needs to charge his ERS. He knows he needs to stay behind Mr. Tazo just now. Mr. Tazo's not who he's fighting with, but he needs the pace, Sempa. Yellow flag in Sector 1. I think that is Warder. Don't know what he done there. I think he probably spun off, did something similar to Tazo, but I can't be sure of that. F1XL Arne, 4/10 away from Bonta in the Williams ahead of him. They're both. Bonta's generating ERS. He's completely unknown. You can see that through the flashing rear lights that he is on. In fact, no, he's on. Yeah, he's on none. Sorry. You can see that through the flashing lights on the back of his car. Just Sempa, 6/10 behind Tazo. Tazo's doing a phenomenal job this race, I must say. Especially after that minor setback that he had, where he did slightly spin off at the start of the race. As we see Caesar go wheel to wheel with Mr. Barnes and get ahead of Mr. Barnes going into the tight left-handers. We see Frank Kentel and Arne battling it out behind. The Red Bull stays ahead on that occasion. This is interesting as we see Sparrow and Bonta now battling, but nothing comes of that. But they are still wheel to wheel. Bonta and Sparrow keep their positions. They were wheel to wheel, they're not anymore. And Elite L-Dog gets another 6 seconds worth of penalties. He is not enjoying this race at all, Elite L-Dog. He is having an absolute howler. And Drift King's managed to get away 10 seconds of his penalty. Frank Kentel's still got that 10-second penalty, so that's important to note that. Warder gets another 3-second penalty for his efforts. As Frank Kentel and Mr. Barnes. Frank Kentel gets ahead of Arne, and Mr. Barnes, Bonta and Arne are now battling. The Williams with the Red Bull, as you can expect. Senna just holds his position very nicely. Millimeters separating the Williams and the Aston as he dives to the inside, but doesn't quite get a move on that occasion. I think I'm just done. Disqualified from Sesson, Drift King, because he received too many penalties. That is just embarrassing for a Drift King, mate. Jeez. Anyways, 3 wide going into this corner as we see Frank Kentel stay ahead of Arne. They're going wheel to wheel. Bonta got ahead in that straight as well. Frank Kentel, as Arne dives down the inside of Frank Kentel, and now dives down the inside, and there's contact. Arne goes a bit sideways, but he managed to keep his position. He's ghosted. He is struggling a lot with those tyres as we're on the penultimate lap, going on to the final lap of this race, as Greeners leads us 2.3 seconds on the final lap of this race. Mr. Tazo, 3/10 behind. If I quickly have a look at this. Okay. Mr. Tazo stays ahead of just Sempa, but Sempa will be wanting to push to get ahead of that. Mr. Barnes, 2/10, 4/10 behind, 3/10 behind, 2/10 behind. He's getting close, Barnes. Barnes can get this P4 and he knows it. And he knows that he can actually get this P3 with Sempa's penalty included in it. This is what the battle is for the podium. Sempa and Caesar and Mr. Barnes totally battling it out for the podium positions here at the end of the race. F1XL Arne, P10, as he gets another 3-second time penalty, but he's very close to the car ahead of him. Arne, can he maybe pull off a move on Sparrow? I'll tell you who can probably pull off a move. Frank Kentel, who's only 3/10 away from Bonta Bullets ahead. He's deploying his ERS on the final lap of this race. He tries to pull to the inside. Can he get ahead? This is probably the last opportunity to overtake. He is wheel to wheel. He stays ahead. There is no contact. They stay well. There is contact. But he stays ahead. Frank Kentel, brilliant move from him as the two Williams look like they have a touch of contact of Senna and Bonta. Senna will be wanting to get ahead, but he cannot quite do that, but there is certainly some contact, some pushing and shoving, as you would say. Overall though, brilliant job from Greeners as he comes round the final corner and wins the COTA Grand Prix for F1XL. Mr. Tazo gets P2, Caesar stays P3 as Sempa moves down to P5 as Barnes is right behind him. Just missing at podium, unfortunate Barnes. Bonta crosses the line with Tommy at RTS God, and XL Arne finishes P9. Sparrow finishes P10 with Frankentel and P11, that's unfortunate, with Warder, Senna, Infinite Loki, the Krauger and Elite L-Dog in dead last. This has been an unfortunate race for a few different drivers, Drift King, notably, L-Dog as well, and also it's not been the greatest or cleanest race for Warder. Extra Rex, an unfortunate place to DNF, looks like he just lost his car and on the straight. I don't know how you lose it on a straight, but that's exactly what he did. Good racing though from all of them. A lot of penalties handed out, but overall, you know, they did an absolutely fantastic job to race each other cleanly and very well. So point scorers are Greeners, who finishes in P1, Mr. Tazo, who finishes in P2, STR, Total Caesar, in P3. That completes your podium. I didn't quite manage to have a look at the rest of them. I did that in qualifying as well, but Mr. Tazo, P2. Great job from him, managing to keep his cool after losing his rear a bit, having a bit of issues with his rear. Looking at the podium though, you've got Greeners on first position. Brilliant job for the Haas team. They really, really needed that. Absolutely fantastic race from him. Led it almost start to finish. Brilliant strategic calls. And, you know, the pace was absolutely there. Didn't crumble under the pressure. It's one of the best drives I have seen for a while. Brilliant job from Greeners, genuinely. He's had an absolutely tremendous time racing there. So your point scores of this race are Greeners, Mr. Tazo, Total Caesar, Mr. Barnes, Just Sempa, Bonta Bullets, Tommy Gunn, RTS God, F1XL Arne, and Sparrow. The rest do not score points, unfortunately, but there was a lot of penalties handed out. For the weekend, the top scorers of the weekend were Greeners in first and Mr. Barnes in P2 after scoring a couple of very good positions. Total Caesar in P3 with Just Sempa in P4. Mr. Tazo P5 and Bonta Bullets in P6 with Tommy Gunn P7. Elite L-Dog P8 with Sparrow P9 and RTS God P10. 28 Frankentel in P11 with Arne in P12, and that completes everyone who got points for COTA at the F1XL Division 4 race. So thank you very much for watching this stream. I hope you enjoyed my commentary. I hope you enjoyed the race. It was a fantastic race to watch, I must say. And well done to all the drivers. Congratulations to Greeners. And congratulations to Sempa for the sprint win. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night.